Well, I got a ton of comments asking about if I play Pally or not, so I decided to level a Pally. This is the very preliminary version of my Pally videos. This Pally is terribly awfully geared, and he's now doing 8s, but I thought that I would just give people a sort of sneak peek of my initial impressions, because I actually have no idea about like anything about Pally at all. I'm like kind of starting this blind, so I figured maybe it would be a fun thing to just look at, like, what how I start off as a Pally, because there's definitely a couple of things I have no idea about. So I'm gonna go over the good things first, good initial impressions, like the bad initial impressions, and then maybe some questions I have at the end. I think the good things are pretty good. The thing I like the most about it is that pretty much everything is ranged. I think everything besides Shield of the Righteous is a ranged ability, and kick, obviously, but you have your avenging shield for range interrupts anyway, so that's not a terrible thing. On DK, you've got pretty much just a ranged puller, more or less. You can't really actually do everything from range. You have good mob control, so you can bring them to you, but everything is melee range. So that part was pretty nice, very convenient. I do like having combo points, and I say that coming from someone that used to play Mistweaver, because Mistweaver used to have combo points, and I feel like it was kind of weird that they decided to give Paladin combo points back in this expansion, when I felt like, Mistweaver could really use something like that, but here Paladin has their combo points back on, I think Prot and Holy got them this expansion. They are fun though, so no complaints there. Just didn't expect that coming into the expansion. Another good thing is the off healing. I think its Word of Glory tends to be pretty strong. I have questions about this too, because I don't really understand when it does massive heals versus when it does like little tiny heals. I feel like sometimes I press Word of Glory and it heals me for like 10k when I'm at 30% HP, and sometimes I press Word of Glory and then it full heals me like a lay on hands. So I'm not exactly sure how it works yet. I know it's supposed to scale off of your missing health, but even then it seems like it's I'm missing something with it. It is good though. It does feel good to have that. Another thing I like is the Consecrate kiting on him. I like this. It feels a lot like D&D's Consecrate kiting, except a bit more fast-paced, I guess, because everything on Pally seems like it's a bit more fast-paced. So like when you're doing a D&D kite, they basically freeze and spot, and you just, barely nudge out of melee range and you can kite them. With Pally Consecrate kiting, like you're basically like full speed backpedaling the entire time, because they're only slowed by like 50%. So it's like a different version of it, way more fast-paced. Everything so far seems a lot more fast-paced. Another good thing is that they have a lot of helpful party utility. Like I can like freedom people, I can heal people, I can give them bop, I can do all kinds of like cool stuff like that. DK doesn't have a lot of that sort of benefit. I really just have AMZ, I guess, and I can pull people away. I can just do like mob control stuff to try and save people, but that's pretty cool. It feels like a very selfless healer in that regard. A lot of ranged silences. So I'm using the legendary right now that has Avenging Wrath proc for proc itself, basically, and you can just keep on doing it. I've had some crazy pulls where I'm doing like 5 Avenging Shields in a row. Yeah, I'm just like spamming Avenging Shield all over the place on these people. That's actually pretty fun. It kind of goes right into like the fast-paced playstyle. Oh, you can see right here, like, I'm still so poorly geared that I'm taking Bubble Taunt, which is another pro, I think. Bubble Taunt has like saved my life every single dungeon so far. I think I have like 60,000 HP, so getting into groups is like almost as hard as actually doing the dungeons. But yeah, the Shield Legendary, I think it's pretty fun. It makes it just feel a lot more fast-paced. Like everything feels super fast-paced when you're just like spamming all of these things. If anything, it makes it feel like you need, like, the globals are so constrained. Like you've got all these things you want to do, like all these procs coming up, and you can't like react to all of them. I'll get to that in a later part too for something of a negative, but the damage is obviously a very big pro as well, especially because Blood DK. I was just running my warrior friend through some mythics to gear him up yesterday, and I was doing it on my Blood DK, and like my DPS at the end of that run is like 4k or something, right? Like it's just nuts how bad the Blood DK's damage is. I don't know why it's like that, but it's not like that for Paladin. I guess I can see the trade-off too, because it feels like I'm a bit squishier. So as long as I can, pump, and I'm Venthyr as well, so I'm Ashen Hollow, and you can do some pretty crazy damage. Well, at least relative to people that are doing 8s. So take that for what you will. The bad things are not especially the Pally's fault right now, because my gear is so bad. My haste is like 13%. It just feels like terrible to play sometimes. Like I'm trying to just keep up my Shield of the Righteous with keeping all of my, my combo point builders on cooldown. Like everything is competing for like every single second. Like I even feel like I can't even use my Word of Glory because I can't keep my Shield of the Righteousness up at all. So that's something that I assume will just, change over time. So it's not really the Pally's fault. But it does seem like early in the expansion, it must have been really terrible to try to actually push keys on Paladin. I expect that to be better with gear, I hope. Another downside, which I don't know how much this will improve, is how vulnerable it feels to damage and death. Like on blood, I feel like nothing can kill me whatsoever. I can just like stay in basically forever. I can mess up and then I'll die, and that's my fault. But on Pally, I think I might be missing something still, but I really have two. I have 2 defensive cooldowns. I've got one of them, which is basically like supposed to be used as a cheat death. Like a skill shot cheat death almost. And then the other one's a real DR, but the cooldown's pretty long on it, so I don't have that every single pull. I have Bubble Taunt, but I think Bubble Taunt probably isn't what people take when they're actually geared, so I think it's like a crutch I'm using. So I'm not exactly sure what's supposed to happen here. Maybe you should be kiting a lot more as a Paladin. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, I told them not to touch those mobs, but the monk touched them, so that's what happens. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with defensives. It does feel very, very, very squishy. And at this point, with the gear that I have, it feels like, I'm dying really quickly. But if I were to heal myself, then I would drop off my Shield of the Righteous, DR. So things are very tight. Maybe this will get better over time as well. There's a couple things that I miss, like Gorfiend's Grasp is very nice to have. I kind of missed out a lot. Like there are these times, like in Sanguine Depths, where you have these ranged mobs like that scribe over there, and if I was a DK, I'd just yoink them over. If it were a caster, I could ranged silence with Pally, but that's not what I can really do, with the archer style mobs. So I do miss having like the mob control. I guess you trade it really for the utility you bring, but I do miss it. I miss AMS too, just because there's like a lot of cool things you can do with AMS, where you can negate like dot applications and stuff like that. There's a couple of other bad things, like Word of Glory being on the GCD kind of feels like very bad. Maybe it's only because of my haste, but I kind of like how, you can have Shield of the Righteous on the second GCD. It has like its own basically GCD. It kind of feels like they should just put the heal on the same cooldown timer as Shield of the Righteous, and then you can always pick like which one of them do you want to use as a spender. That would be pretty cool. As it stands right now, I kind of just have to try to muddle through with my terrible, awful haste. Another thing is the off healing. I feel like I can never actually afford to off heal people unless I'm kiting. So maybe I should be kiting like a ton more. Maybe that's what you're supposed to do. Maybe you're supposed to just like kite. Like you only ever use combo points and Shield of the Righteous, until you can't keep alive anymore because you run out of your 1 or 2 defensives, and then you kite and heal yourself. Like that could be something maybe I should be doing. I'm not exactly sure. I'm open to suggestion there as well. But healing people is pretty hard when I'm, barely staying alive myself. I don't know if these procs that make me like full heal myself by mistake with my Word of Glory apply to other teammates too. Sometimes it feels like I'm doing really low heals on them. But the last thing I think I really don't like is Consecrate as like a defensive buff. It kind of feels like a worse version of Brewmaster's Rushing Jade Wind. Like with Rushing Jade Wind, it's a button that you basically have to just press, every like 8 seconds or however long it is, because it does a ton of damage. So you don't really think about it. You just always press it every couple of seconds, and that's what Consecrate feels like. Except it has like the added detriment that you have to stand in it too, which kind of is annoying. So like when you're running away, then you have to like replace or consecrate. That part, I feel kind of like constrained by that. I guess the playstyle, it does work out with the playstyle, so I'm not hugely against it. And I do like the kite through consecrate concept, so maybe I'll just have to get used to that. But yeah, so far it is pretty good. Very fast paced, completely different from Blood. Feels like you trade off a lot more survivability for a lot of other cool little things, especially damage. And damage is not a small deal for sure, and that's what makes you actually time the key. Of course, you have to kill the things. There's a couple of questions that I have that I haven't resolved yet, like Avenging Wrath versus Ashen Hollow. I've been using them in sequence, but I don't know if you should be using them at the same time as opposed to in sequence. I thought that you would maybe want to use them in sequence because you want to just have like two different cooldown windows where you get to use your Hammer of Wrath. You know, if you double up on them, then like you have a stronger Ashen Hollow, but then you have less overall Hammer of Wraths. So I don't know if there's like a right or wrong way to be doing that. I think Venthyr probably isn't like the meta for Prot Paladin. I think it's probably Kyrian, so I'm not sure how many people even worry about that. I don't know if I should be kiting more. I kind of hinted at that. And I don't know what the priority should be with my combo points for spending them on Shield of the Righteous versus spending them on Word of Glory. It seems like maybe right now that's just a problem introduced by my haste problems, but it feels like I basically always have to spend it on Word of Glory unless I have a proc and I spend it on myself there. But then I lose out on like that valuable GCD that I'm struggling so hard to get more of. So maybe that's not a problem long term either. I don't know. But so far, so good. You know, I'm doing 8s. This guy's like maybe 200 eye level or something. So he's very, very bad. But I am working on him. So eventually I will put out something a bit more competitive. Hopefully this can hold people over in the meantime. So yeah, enjoy this. See ya.